Hi everyone and welcome. Today we're going to be taking a look at functions from tables and graphs, and we're going to be also looking at the vertical line test. So our goal, after watching today's video, we'll be able to evaluate and identify functions, again, looking at tables and graphs. So to start off, what is a function? So let's take a look at one. So I lose a bet, and the punishment for that bet is I am forced to go to a Browns game. Well, those tickets now, not a good team, so not really worth much. So I don't know, it's probably like $4 or something to get into a Browns game, like a JV football game, something like that. And when you're there, snacks still cost quite a bit of money, so if I want popcorn, well, I'm going to have to buy some popcorn. If we're looking at an equation, we're thinking about it in like y equals mx plus b form, well, I only pay $4 for my ticket. I'm not leaving and entering the stadium multiple times. I only pay that once, so that's my constant, but I don't know how much popcorn I'm going to eat. And if you know me personally, you'll know that I like quite a bit of popcorn. So maybe it's 1 bag, maybe it's no bags, maybe it's 10 bags. So we can look at this and see if x is the number of bags of popcorn, that's going to determine really how much I spent. So if I don't buy any popcorn at all, I just pay for my ticket, or I just pay $4. But if I buy 1 bag of popcorn, well, we're going to see I'm going to pay an additional $5, so it goes up. So that's the idea of going from our table, again, it goes up by a jump of 5 every time, is that we're seeing 1 more bag, $5 more. 1 more bag, $5 more. But if, again, that starting point of just a ticket. So looking at this on a graph, we'd start at 1, 2, 3, 4, up. And then for every time we go over by 1 bag of popcorn, we're going to see that the price goes up again by 5. So 3, 4, 5. So our graph looking something like this. So that's our goal for today, is to see a description, have an equation, have a table, have a graph, and understand that the graph is the same thing as the table is the same thing as the equation. All of these things are just different ways to express the same thing. So let's take a look a little bit more closely here. So first things first, for a function, you have something called the vertical line test. And this is basically telling us it's a test to check if each input has only one output. And the reason why this is important is if I buy 1 bag of popcorn at the Brown Stadium, it's going to cost $5. It's not going to cost different for somebody else. It's not going to, change every time I go up there. It's exactly predictable. That's what makes it a function. So again, looking at this here, if we were to take a look at the graph that we just made on that other page, and again, like starting here and going up, the vertical line test is just a test where we draw these lines straight up and straight down. And as long as when we're drawing these lines straight up and straight down, it only crosses once, so at one point on our line, it passes the vertical line test, it is a function. Well, if you're like, well, Mr. R, that seems like most things that I've ever done, let's take a look at some things that wouldn't be functions. So maybe, for example, something that looks like this. Sometimes if I buy 1 bag of popcorn, it costs $2. Sometimes if I buy 1 bag of popcorn, it costs $7. Well, if we check with our vertical line test, and we trace a line straight up and straight down, we see that it crosses once, twice. If it crosses 2 times, it fails the vertical line test. Again, it can only cross 1 time. So again, we draw a line straight up and straight down. And if that line that goes straight up and straight down crosses more than 1 time, it fails the vertical line test. It is not a function. So again, let's keep looking at some examples here. Vertical line test, we'll do it in blue, straight up and straight down, only crosses once, is a function. Vertical line test, straight up and straight down, taking a look here, crosses once, twice, 3 times, not a function. This one here, again, straight up and straight down. No matter where we draw this line, only going to cross 1 time. So check, is a function. Same thing here. Doesn't matter where we draw these lines straight up and straight down. They're only going to cross 1 time. And again, this one, same thing. It gets close in some places with some steep slopes. But again, if we're going exactly up and down, it's only crossing in 1 place. So this is a function. If we draw a line straight up and straight down here, we have infinite intersections. It's crossing at all of these points. This is the biggest fail of all of the fails. Not a function. Again, it can only touch 1 time when we draw a line straight up and straight down. So a line that is actually straight up and straight down is by definition failing the vertical line test. All right, so now if we're taking a look here, another way that we can see that is not only on graphs, like we just did in the example above, but we can also see that from tables. So if for the same input you have multiple outputs, it fails. So we are allowed to have repeated outputs, but if we double up on an input and the input repeats, so like for example number 4 repeats twice, we have different values. That means it is not a function because again, one input can only have one output. This table here, we don't have any repeated outputs, so yes, it is a function. For each input, we have only one output. Again, even though these outputs repeat here, even though we see 4 and 4, because those are outputs and not inputs that are repeating, that's okay. It is a function. And again, we could think about each of these on a graph. If we were to take a look at this one, we'd start off at 3 equals 0, 4 is 7, 4 is 14. Well, right at that spot where we equal 4, we're seeing that we cross once and twice. So we're failing that vertical line test. And again, vertical line test applies for graphs, but we can think about it conceptually for tables as well. All right, so the last thing that we're going to look at today, our last kind of skill here, is to go specifically from an equation to a table. So our job in these types of questions is to take the equation that we're given and put it into the table. So here, this is filling in for Mr. R gets 0 bags of popcorn. So we put in 0 for our variable. 5 times 0 is 0, minus 12, just leaves us with an answer of minus 12. We do that for each value in our table here. 5 minus 12 gets us minus 7. 10 minus 12 gets us minus 2. So again, that's your job for all of these equations, to plug in the value and to calculate what it gives you when you do. So again, a setup, a start for each of these. So it's your job to take each of those variables, plug it in, and solve, and get answers for each of your table values. So again, big focus today looking at functions, some good real-world applications here. And again, looking for that consistency, looking to see is it a function when we define it. And again, a good introduction to our new unit here. Again, any questions, save them for small group time. We'll definitely answer them then, or feel free to email or message them over, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. As always, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you very soon.